first guest. I guess if we ever do a movie about the Racetrack Business Conference, how it all started and how it got to where it is, we could utilize Christina to help us, because I understand you've co-written some screenplays.
That's not supposed to come up here. I have.
Yeah, so see, I dig for the obscure details. While managing digital properties for Sears Craftsman, she was introduced to the racing world, and well, the rest is history. Christina Cordova, please introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about you.
So, Christina, I work for World Racing Group, World of Outlaws, Dirt Car Racing, and I am here on behalf of Dirt Vision, our live streaming platform. I worked in the film world, I worked in the PR and communications world. I met these guys working for Craftsman when Craftsman sponsored the World of Outlaws, and was thrilled to move my life to North Carolina. And I also, managed a live studio for Craftsman and Kenmore. We were probably the first people doing any live streaming on YouTube back in the day. And now I am here, and we are broadcasting all of our World of Outlaws races on Dirt Vision, all of our Summer Nationals races on Dirt Vision, and Knoxville Weekly Racing, and races from Australia, and more and more and more.
Very good. Our next guest is a graduate of Dartmouth College, Northwestern, and the University of ESPN. That's what I like to call it. You're helping do a really great job of growing the enormous content at Flow Sport. Every time I go over to my app on the Roku device that I have on my TV, I notice more and more sports. More than 150 new rights deals worldwide just in the last year. Is that right?
And growing.
My goodness. Just about every type of sport imaginable is on Flow Sports. Let's welcome their VP of Global Acquisition, Michael Levy.
Thank you for having me. We're excited to be here and excited to be in this room. It's our second year at PRI, our first time being at this specific conference. And I've really been just overwhelmed with the warmth and welcome that we've gotten from the racing community. We're thrilled to be here. Appreciate the responsibility that we have as a newcomer, and excited to hopefully get to know all of you and continue to build this sport.
Very good. Another regular here at the Racetrack Business Conference. I think you've been with us off and on. Somebody from your group is, yeah, we're always seeing you. You have quite a commute, though, from your home in Great Falls, Montana, to Turn 3 Media's home base in Mooresville, North Carolina. There's probably a couple of tolls involved in that. Part of the team that is transforming and has been doing a great job of transforming the iconic National Speed Sport News brand, which I have loved for years, into the digital age. It's Joe Tripp.
Thank you, Dennis and Tim and everybody for having us again this year. We are humbled to be here and be a partner with this event. Yeah, we've been involved almost from the beginning. And yeah, I do have a long commute, but like a lot of other companies these days and age, we have people all over the country that are, team members all over the place. But our base of operations is in Race City, USA, and I happily commute down there every month to spend a few weeks in the office until everybody gets sick of me and sends me home. But myself and my partner, Ralph Shaheen, acquired the iconic brand from the Economaki family back in 2010 and reimagined the brand as a full-blown media company. And really, we're celebrating our 85th anniversary, by the way, this year. We put the 85th anniversary out there for you guys all to take home as a keepsake. But no better way to celebrate it than to really truly realize our vision this year of launching the Speed Sport Network and Speed Sport TV, which is the culmination of our original vision of making this brand a full-blown media company, including television, broadcasting, the whole works. So very happy to be here and talk about it a little bit.
while we're going to talk a lot about broadcasting and streaming, I just got to take this opportunity to say you're making Economaki real proud by continuing the type of stories that made National Speed Sport News the brand that you couldn't wait to get in the mail all the time.
We take that really seriously.
All right. Christina, this first question is aimed at you here. And is there anything that your group has learned over the time you've been doing the streaming of races and events that can provide a good insight to folks that are new to the streaming world? And any things that, knowing now that you might have done different? Talk a little bit about the experience of what streaming has done for the World Racing Group so far.
Obviously we've learned so much, and that's a really loaded question. I would say that we have, everybody here, so we have, our situation is somewhat different than some of those folks out there streaming from a particular track, for example. We are talking about going across the country, sometimes in very remote places, and our biggest obstacle was connectivity, really, like a consistent, reliable connection. We started out live streaming some races, and now we live stream all of them. In order to have that kind of reliable connection, we explored a lot of options. Brian Dunlap explored a lot of options. One of the things that I think it's important when you're starting out is to realize that it only takes one messed up broadcast to damage you for the next 3 months or the next 3 years. Your reliability is probably the most important thing, right? Your consistency. And so obviously the advances in technology have helped, but the reality is that you still don't have internet at some of the tracks, or at least not enough bandwidth for us to do what we're doing. You still don't have enough cellular data to reliably push at a track where everyone's on their phone, especially when that 4-wide comes along, to show the rest, you just post it on social media. So that's been our biggest challenge, and we've jumped that hurdle, and we have a lot of redundancies in place so that if one thing doesn't work, we have another thing. We are now sort of come full circle into going back to pushing our stream to home studio, and then from there pushing it out to the public, loading it to CDN and whatnot. But and when I say full circle, because at some point you just started trying to push it direct from the track, right? So that you don't need a production truck, and you can cut your expenses down from what TV used to cost us. And now there's sort of a middle ground where you can still have push it back home to a home studio and do it that way without incurring the same expenses of what TV used to cost us.
Very good.
So there's a lot of people doing it in different ways, and some are cutting costs by not doing that. But as you cut costs, you're also sort of cutting into that reliability issue. So you have to find the right balance. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, years ago when I was doing a lot of streaming of audio from racetracks and using cellular data, you'd do a test, you'd do qualifying, it was perfect. As soon as the race started, there went the stream. You need to really make sure that you're testing in real time with race conditions before you even attempt to do a live race. You need to do a few test runs is what I learned really fast. Okay, Michael, is this just about opening another revenue stream, or do you really think that streaming of auto races will put more fannies in the seats? And have you seen any similar results in other sports that, because you have more data there, I'm a data guy, you have more data with the myriad of sports that you guys cover. Has there been any feedback on how streaming has helped with putting fannies in the seats?
Well, certainly in this sport, as in all others that we work in, that's a question that we're asked on a near daily basis. We do have a lot of data that suggests that, particularly in communities where we're entering, where there's a high level of passion, there is a high level of engagement, there's significant revenues and fans that are accustomed to paying premium disposable income to either go to tracks or watch it, we do see a very high correlation with more butts and seats, and it's essential for us when we're partnering either with series or tracks that we're being a partner with them to make sure that they're fulfilling their goals. So for us, Flow Sports is built on this idea that we build communities. Communities are not limited to only to those people that are choosing to buy a subscription to Flow Sports, or in this case, Flow Racing. It is essential that we work with our rights holder partners to understand their goals, understand their initiatives, whether that's to grow sponsorship or to put butts in seats or to just grow the sport, that we're getting an understanding of what that is and developing a customized plan in order to achieve that. And that's not just through the live stream necessarily. That could be with documentary content, news, information, analysis, journalism. All of that lives on Flow Racing above and beyond just the live sport. And the overall package that we offer to rights holders can be nuanced to ensure that we're reaching those objectives that that particular track or that particular series might have in a given year, on a given event, on a long-term basis. We take that responsibility, particularly in a sport like this where we're new, extremely seriously.
Joe, same question for you. Your partners are really big about the promotion end of things, the folks that you're working with over there at Speed Sport TV. And they've already got a reputation of doing a fairly good job working with race promoters without, kind of ticking them off about the fannies in the seats problem. Is this going to be big at generating more fannies in the seats, do you think, as someone who's been around racing for a long time, or have we changed so much that with the ability to take a signal from a streaming operator and put it on my big screen TV at home, that I don't want to go to the track anymore because I'm comfortable enough seeing the live streaming? Is there any danger of that?
Well, I think there's danger in that if the approach is for the wrong reasons. I think it's a holistic approach, and I missed out on the first session this morning, but there were a lot of points in that session and in previous sessions that apply directly to what we're talking about here. The gentleman earlier was talking about monetizing the backside of a billboard, mowing the ditch. It's all the details. The competition for attention of a consumer is so fierce right now that you just can't leave any stone unturned. And our history in streaming started out, right out of the gate, knowing that we wanted to get into this business, but navigating those waters and figuring out how to fit with the Speed Sport brand took us a while. And now that we're here, we feel like our approach is all about focusing on the promoter. Very, very much what Michael said. The benefit that we have is this massive media empire we've built all the way to award-winning primetime television shows on MAV TV. So now it all fits. So we can provide a full 360 solution for a promoter, a rights holder, and help them manage everything from their sponsor activation to how to leverage their video to create editorial content that feeds the other side of our business, which then drives ticket sales. So I think if you approach it, I think a common theme I've heard already today is that you just can't leave any stone unturned. You've got to pay attention to the details, and you've got to execute really well. And that's our approach in partnering with rights holders and promoters.
Christina, do all of the different series under the umbrella of World Racing Group, do they all have a similar philosophy as far as how many cameras and type of broadcaster? Is there some variance? Has anyone figured out the sweet spot of what the racing fan does want? We stream local hockey games, and people seem content with a one-camera shot as long as we're reasonably in focus. But they're not paying for that broadcast. They're getting it free, and our sponsors are paying the freight. Have you guys figured out what the sweet spot is of what the fans want, or is it so tough to figure out that you're kind of like guessing?
I think it's a moving target. We try and keep our broadcast consistent, so I would say there might be some minimal differences across the board, but no, we try to keep it consistent and offer the same thing across the series. That said, we might think that we have found the sweet spot, but if you get on social media, there's always people complaining. That's what they do there, right? Like, so there's always going to be people telling you how to do it differently because everybody knows how to do it. It's important to listen, though, because sometimes there's something valid in all of that, right? So we listen and we tuck it away, and then we try and come up with new ideas, and we're always trying to find ways to do it better and to do it differently than how everybody, than the standard. So I think it's important to kind of keep pushing at the walls and not just be content with what you have.
For Flow, look, everything that we do as a modern media company built on streaming, we do 10,000 live events a year. The data tells you what to do. And we work really hard, and we've got a very good system for building algorithms and projecting what we think a given audience is going to be on a given day in a given time period, et cetera, et cetera. And the data informs you on how much to invest in a production, whether it's a one camera or multi-camera and replay and graphics and all the bells and whistles. And we very much philosophically scale our productions up and down. And then it again goes back to the partnership piece. What's the most important thing for that partner? Do they want more editorial content 3 months before the event to drive interest in butts and seats? Or is it really important for production quality, in which case maybe we reduce some of that content early on and build up the production piece? So it is a moving target, certainly, but at the end of the day for Flow Sports, in terms of where we're able to make investments, how we're able to make investments, the data tells the story every single time. And we want to work with those partners again in trying to get a best picture of what that data is so that we can invest as much as we possibly can.
Joe, do you think that streaming events on Speed Sport TV, will we just see every track be willing to do this? Or, is there a size of audience that is needed to make this viable for most? Or are we looking at mainly in racing, big events being the ones that are more likely to be the ones that you guys are streaming?
I haven't talked to a promoter that doesn't want to try it, but there are certainly, you get to a certain scale where it's challenging to do, and if the promoter wants it bad enough, then they may have to make an investment to do that. Our approach is very focused on the grassroots, so we have the way we approach it is with a network approach with affiliates. So kind of like the old traditional television model where you've got CBS and then you've got the local affiliates. So we've got, I think we're at about 45 individually branded affiliates, which are tracks, broadcasters, promoters that are really focused on their niche. So it can be very efficient. And then sharing in that common platform, we're able to do that pretty well. So, but to answer your question, yeah, there's a point at which there's limited return, but if you can have economy of scale and deliver something that they can do efficiently, we can roll up a lot of really small events, but then turn around and ramp up for the largest events out there.
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor to questions from the audience, but I got one toss-up question to throw out there because I am a frustrated wannabe game show host. So how expensive is it to get started? And once you get started, how easy is it to scale up to a better and better broadcast? Anybody?
Are you talking on the perspective of the streamer broadcaster or for the tracks series? Which side of the?
Yeah, how do you get started? How expensive is it to get started in doing a stream?
Well, I don't think anybody else should get into this business. That's for sure.
I mean for a track to want to stream with you, for instance. How expensive of a startup cost is it?
It's real cheap. You just go to Flow and ask them for the money.
Our doors are open, and we encourage you all to come ask us for money. we will then go back to you and say, can you have any data to share? And this is, it's kind of an honest answer. At 10,000 events across 25 plus sports, you know, if you look at our Flow Wrestling, which is one of the first ones that we launched, or Flow Track and our Mile Split products, we want to go as deep into sports as we possibly can. It's all about building passion and community and creating context and giving avid fans as much content as they crave and are willing to have. So long as there are customers out there that want to go deeper, we want to invest, and we will continue to invest. So does it cost our partners anything? Typically, no. If there's data that suggests that there's an audience there, Flow Sports is always going to invest in some capacity, whether that's with a rights fee, whether that's with production, whether that's with editorial content. If there is value there to be had, we want to invest, and we will continue to invest. That's our model. And then ultimately, I mean, one of your earlier questions were a little bit different from Speed Sport. We're a media company that's trying to grow sports in the aggregate. So we have hundreds of thousands of subscribers across 24, 25 sports. So when you put on your Roku at any given moment, right next to University of North Carolina basketball with our Colonial Athletic Conference deal, you could very well have a USAC race. You could have a college football game, and so on. And so we're trying to grow the sport through that community as well by organically sharing all the value and all the storytelling and all the great context that exists in sport, generally speaking, that made ESPN such a great brand for so many years, and bring that to sports that we deem are underserved and have a tremendous amount of value still to retain out of it, and help. Ultimately, we chose to get into the sport because we believe that we can help it grow. And that's all stakeholders in the room, whether the fan, the track, the series. That's our mission, is to grow sport.
I think it goes back to the issue that I brought up earlier too. Like, you can do it on the cheap. You can do it real cheap at this point. And it sort of depends if you're a track owner and you've got one location to deal with, and you can control your internet and you can have a dedicated internet with enough bandwidth and do it that way, you're going to bring your cost down. If you're trying to go from track to track and dealing with those issues, that's going to bring the cost up. But either way, to do it right and not lose your reputation on it from the start, then it's going to be an investment.
Joe.
Yeah, and it's efficient to get in. You can get in for the price of an iPhone, really, if you want to get it down as simple as possible. But if you're going to make it a business, you have to look at it that way. Whether it's looking at the data, understanding your audience. We worked with a drag racing series that their audience was quite happy with one of the marketing people for that series would broadcast live stream every event using his phone. And they were tickled, but the stakeholders of the series said, we need to up our game here. We need a real broadcast. We need to make this part of our business model. So we went in and did a prototype event for them so they could really see what it looked like, and charged as a nominal pay-per-view fee to cover the cost of it, and the fans lost their minds. We gave them a 3-camera shoot with graphics and the whole 9 yards, a real stable platform, HD. And they were, what happened to the free, phone that Billy Bob did there, So you really do have to understand the audience, whether it's the data, just knowing the people, kind of understanding the scope of all that. And look, I don't begin to claim to be an expert on all of that. And that's why we're very fortunate. That team of guys back there is the brains behind the streaming part of our business and have over a decade of experience doing it. So a lot of times they can just take a look at it and understand the nuances of what's going to work and what's not without even really having to look at the data, just from experience.
And the broadcasts for the Cars series, in my opinion, have been as good as anything you would have seen on the old Nashville network years ago.
Absolutely.
Doing an awesome job. Right down here.
Raise your hand, Tony. That's that guy right there.
Hi, Jeff Antonelli here. I have two very different questions. The first is, since this is streaming and using the internet, are you seeing problems with digital piracy? That's question number one. And question number two just because I'm driving an HBD in Porsche Club and NASA and a few others. I'm wondering if is there interest in somehow broadcasting some of those races?
I'll take that one to start with. I think the piracy issue is a huge one, and being able to control and lock down access to your streams. I like to use the word broadcast because we're really using the internet to do broadcast. Streaming for a lot of people has a negative connotation. In the old days, it was sketchy and whatever. But I think that is a major issue. One that that my partner Chris on the Speed Sport TV side is adamant about, and that we lock those down because everybody sees the links being shared around. Any technical developer savvy guy can look at those things, and there's some that get shared around. How big that's encroaching on audiences, I don't have that data, but I do know that it's a major topic for discussion among promoters who are concerned about that leakage. Eventually, one of the major events in short track racing in the year, and the promoter of that event said, I'm not sure if I even want to do live streaming anymore because of that issue. I don't know what I'm losing. So, and then to your second question, I'll just ramble, then they can jump on, is that we're talking to a number of club type tracks, series, like NASA, SCCA, the private clubs that they want to do that for a number of different reasons, depending on the scale. At the very highest end, a very premium brand that have a race series of their customers bringing their cars to race. They just want to build that value proposition. So by having the business model is tied more to the marketing and the relationship with their customers. So absolutely, there's opportunity across all sports, across up and down, from the very smallest track to the very various big pinnacle of the sport. And in our case, a lot of times we're not even doing the race. We're going in and doing, say, like what the Golf Channel does with the Masters. They don't have the broadcast, but they're doing all the pre-race. So all the editorial, a pre-race show, it's, owning that Monday through Thursday part of the conversation. So it's not, what we're talking about here isn't just about the race. It's about creating shoulder programming and having an efficient mechanism to broadcast that.
So there's some business model questions there. There are some really high-quality software programs out there that help with piracy. Flow, with a number of events that we do, we certainly subscribe to those services. And I think we've done a pretty darn good job working on the piracy front. In a pay-per-view model, particularly for a promoter, that's a little scary. On a subscription model, where you hypothetically either are a track, you're getting a rights fee in that case, or if you're a consumer, you're buying, hypothetically, a calendar of events through the course of a given time period, whether it's a month or a year or whatever. And in those cases, for our business, I think we're sheltered a little bit from major concerns as it relates to piracy. Now, for the biggest events that we do, where we might have, maybe 100,000 people watching, it's still an issue because that's where people are kind of come in and they want to treat it like a pay-per-view, in which case we are allocating resources on our side to do our best to mitigate that. And we've gotten pretty darn good at it.
When it comes to either pay-per-view or a subscription model, have you guys figured out the sweet spot of pricing yet? Because that seems to be, to me, a big concern is finding that right sweet spot. You don't want to leave a lot of money on the table, but you also don't want to chase too many fans away, because the more fans you've got watching, the better your sponsors are happy with everything too. Have you guys figured out a sweet spot yet?
Well, we've had the same pricing for 6+ years. We have a $30 a month subscription fee, or $150 a year, which in this room gains access to Flow Racing and the other 24 sports that we do also. So I think it was a little over 6 years ago that we switched to that model. And we test constantly on changing our prices. lowering them, increasing them, doing whatever, and we keep coming back right to where we've always been. So for us, that model's worked out particularly well. We'll continue to test, and if there's something that we can do that adds value to our various stakeholders and our company, so we can invest more, we'll do it. But it's been pretty stable on our end.
It's a constant topic of conversation. We just recently went to a subscription model, and that has been fantastic for our fans and in terms of the access, for our viewership, for us. It's been great. But that was, that was difficult for everyone, right? Like it's scary. And our partners in the business, it was difficult for them too to accept that. And even though you're looking at the math and going, this will work, it's riskier, right? We're very happy with it. Our fans are very happy with it. But the price point is a constant topic of conversation, and we'll explore it.
Yeah, I'll go quick because I know we're running short on time, Dennis. But I think one of the things I'm excited about with what we've done is having a network of lots and lots of affiliates that are working, in their areas with different branded channels and different niches of content. They can test for themselves different pricing models. And Tony back there would be the perfect example of he, as one of our partners, actually has multiple channels for the Cars Tour and the Legends and all that. And so I see a migration towards subscription models, and I see prices all over the board. And then you might have premier events that you need to charge a different price for, and or add on. I think that's part of what's exciting about this. I seem like I say this every time I'm here, is this is the Wild West, because we're constantly evolving. And what we find that works, as soon as we rest on our laurels, it's going to be challenged the next time because something's going to change. So it's testing, whether it's a data-centric model or a distributed model where you've got a lot of different tests going all the time, which is our affiliate model. But it also is a business model because, say Lucas Oil Racing TV, a great partnership with those guys, and we broadcast shows on their thing. Their price point is very low, and Disney, the new Disney app low, but they're Lucas Oil and they're selling oil. It's a branding thing, so they're not necessarily generating a lot of revenue that goes downstream to the promoters. They're supporting the promoters in other ways. At that price point, that probably wouldn't work for the average, the average situation. So, and that creates pressure. But that's what's exciting about this. It's exciting, as promoters, sponsors that are supporting the brand. It's exciting because you get all these different business models and a lot of, there's capital and there's eyeballs and there's interest chasing your content. So explore each one of those models, figure out what seems to work for you, and we'll make it work.
And the racing world isn't alone with this problem. In the Frisbee football world, the ultimate disc world that I work in too, we went from a free model to a subscription model, toyed with the pay-per-view just for the big, championship events. When we went from offering it free to a subscription, people were saying, oh, nobody's going to tune in. We increased our viewership by 500%, and the numbers were already really good. So just when you think you have it figured out, you don't. Trial and error probably works pretty good. Question in the back.
Colton with Babs Motor Speedway. This question's kind of for Christina and Michael. Kind of piggyback the gentleman that was up here asking about piracy and stuff. Obviously, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is all the hot new deals with social media. It's easy to share information. It can be super good, super bad, whether it's telling a story, getting information out there on an event, etc. Regarding the pay-per-view stuff, obviously 2019 Dirt Vision stuff's been around for a long time. It seemed like 2019 was the year of tracks, more series, whether it was midgets, late models, sprint cars, to dive into the pay-per-view world, whether it was special events or weekly events. Also, with that being said, it seemed like it was also a topic of issue of a lot of free links that were shared around on Facebook via Facebook Messenger. And especially towards the end of the year, it seemed like people were more easily prone to basically just put a post on Facebook asking for free links and where to go. A, do you see that being more of an issue now, more so than ever? Is there infrastructure in place to shut down the free links? And for us, like me as a racetrack and a couple other people in here, is there a concern for us weekly that free links will keep people away from paying admission to watch races? Obviously, we know big events will always be big events. Drivers, cars, all that stuff. I'm asking, though, from a weekly standpoint, do you see that being an issue?
I mean, I'll reiterate what Mike said here. You know, we do what we can in terms of security measures, but piracy is always going to be an issue. I mean, there are free HBO links that get passed around. You can watch HBO. I've had people send me Flow links. I can watch Flow. I can watch, you know, any of our content up here has been exposed at some point, despite all of our security measures. And as for fans streaming from the stands, like, you know, trying to control that entirely is just not, you know, is just not possible, right? Or very difficult and probably not worth the effort at the end of the day. I am of the belief, and data has shown, and this is true kind of across the board, if you Google how live streaming and broadcasts and TV have affected sports throughout the years, it puts more butts in seats. We have more repeat people going to repeat ticket buyers since we have broadcast every race than we have before. Flo shared with us a couple of years ago their case study with wrestling, right?
Great memory. Oklahoma State, yeah.
Where the ticket sales increased by how much?
I think, well,
It's sort of an absurd amount, anyway.
thank you. Yes, it was an absurd amount.
Anyway, the point is, like, if I'm following football this season and watching every game on TV, I'm going to go to a game when they're in town. Like, that's the way it works. So I don't see it taking butts out of seats. I've been to a racetrack. How many people here have been to a racetrack? Is it the same watching it on you know, a computer or a TV or any kind of mobile device? Like, no. It's just not. It's never going to replace it. And if you're engaged and you know who the drivers are and you're excited about it, when they're in town, you're going to go. Weather's always going to be an issue. If the weather looks bad, then you might stay home and watch it. So that's the one, you know, bad weather is always going to be an issue for us. And that's the one place where if there's a live stream or a broadcast, it might actually affect your decision. But
We had a partner in the USAC series that we do. There was a West Coast track that had those exact concerns. And we were there a few times over the course of the season. And this particular promoter got loud enough that we agreed to geofence 100 miles from his track. There would be no live stream available within 100 miles of his track. His attendance went down. We got him back, and his attendance went back up. So I can't necessarily explain with data why that happened, other than to say that all of our data suggests there's zero correlation. And if you're a hardcore fan or even a casual fan and you come across a live stream and you're like, holy cow, that's cool, there is nothing like a racetrack event. There's nothing like the smell and the sounds and getting hurt by your first clay pebble that you can't replicate on a screen of any size. So I agree wholeheartedly. But secondarily, there's an amazing large-scale case study out there that's not related to racing. Chicago Blackhawks, under their old owner, refused to put their content on television in the city of Chicago. And they were getting like 5,000, 6,000 fans a game in the United Center. He passed away, his son took over the team, he put it on television for free, and they sell out every single game ever since.
And that was before the team got good.
It was before the team got good. So there are case studies all over the sports landscape that suggest that the more you put out there, the more fans want to engage. And then nothing replicates being there. As much as I'd like it to be that way, it just doesn't.
we have the unique perspective that we sell tickets, okay? And these two guys around me, they don't sell tickets. We sell tickets. It's very important to us. Our business is tickets. We also live stream races, but our business is tickets. If that were an issue, we wouldn't be doing this.
And if you have a good announcing group that is doing the stream, and Tony's a great example to pick on again, if you have a good announcing group and the broadcast is done well, it makes you want to come to the race even more. Trust me on that.
It's also a marketing venue, right?
Absolutely. Final thoughts from this panel. Michael, I'm going to lead off with you.
Ooh, you didn't warn me about this question. Look, flow racing is new to this community. And I know I'm new to this community, and we've heard lots of questions. What is Flow Sports' intent? What do you guys want to do? And are you going to go away? We're not going anywhere. In our year and a half in this sport, we have been overwhelmed with the opportunity and the product that all of you in this room bring to the table. We want to invest more. We want to help grow the sport. I mean, my founder is in the room. He launched this company in 2006 on track and field and wrestling. And we are the ESPN of those sports because we have invested fundamentally in every level of those sports in order to make them relevant and bring context to those sports. We can all coexist here when the mission is to grow the sport. And we want to do our part and respect the legacy of this sport and do our best in our little own way to listen and learn and to enhance it. And if anybody's got questions on how we can go about doing that and how we can leverage, we're selling a little bit, we'd love to have that conversation because we believe in what you guys do.
Christina, you're up next. Final thoughts.
We all want more fans.
Yeah.
I mean, period. We all want more fans. We all want more butts in seats. And the way to do that is to engage them with is to expose them to our sport and engage them with our sport. And this does that. And the other thing I would say is partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. There's a lot of people out there doing it. There are a good group of people doing it right. Partner with people. You don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to build the infrastructure yourself. Find the right partners.
Joe, final thoughts.
We are not new to this sport. With the 85th anniversary happening this year, we've been at it for a long time. And when Ralph and I got involved in this, it was under the steely-eyed gaze of Corinna Conamaki that finally trusted us that we would carry that brand forward, and I think we've done a great job with that. And we approach the streaming broadcasting just like we do everything else, with that idea that we've been a partner in motorsports for 85 years, and we're not going to mess that up. So we're very conservative and cautious. We feel like we've partnered with the right technology partner to do this. We think we do it as well or better than anybody. But we're still a small company with a big name and a lot of history. And I think we're doing it like we've talked about. I think we're all up here doing it for the right reasons. We're trying to grow the sport. We all approach it a little differently. And that's, to me, what's really exciting for the industry, because you have a lot of choice. There's different business models. You have a lot of expertise out there now to support it and partnerships. So talk to all of us. Talk to everybody that's in this. Talk to Tony and talk to Mike and see what's out there. And you're going to come away from those conversations having a much better understanding and hopefully a solution.
What did we learn from our broadcasting and streaming group? It is possible to put more fannies in the seats, which we all want to do. For a variety of reasons, it's still tough to do this in some areas because of the lack of good stream of internet that at some of the rural locations. And bad announcers or a bad broadcast can ruin your reputation real fast. Finally, there's a lot of competition for attention out there. So streaming video is one way to connect with fans where they live, which is on their mobile devices and online. And once you do that, you can win that competition for their attention and eventually their money. Let's give a big round of applause.